This is the PowerShell Podcast, PowerShell and DevOps Global Summit 2025 edition, the Bar Sessions.
Could I get another one over here, please?
The PowerShell Podcast is a PDQ production, making device management simple, secure, and pretty damn quick. And now, here's your host, Andrew Plaw.
We're here live at another PowerShell Summit Bar Sessions, the famed. People love these, and I had to do it true. Had to do it right for the people. We got to bring on Steven Judd. There's a couple callbacks we got to do. Steven Judd's been electric. It's day one, the end of it. We're having a great time. We hung out last night a bit, some of us. Steven Judd, welcome to the podcast. Kicking us off the right way. How you doing tonight, man?
Thank you, Andrew. I'm doing great. I'm trying to maintain. What you get at the beginning is the high conference energy. Right? So you hit me up on Thursday, I may be human puddle and not make any sense. Not that I'm going to make any sense this time, but, hey, let's go for it.
There's nuggets in there. So there's a lot I want to cover in this short chat. But
Okay.
I want to start off with, so you're doing OnRamp this year.
Yes, I'm doing OnRamp with Mike Robbins.
Yeah. Day one of OnRamp, I had the fortune of meeting several OnRampers, and I was very impressed with sort of the ones I met, the mindset they have going into it, their eagerness.
Yeah.
How was day one?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the day one has been very good. The on-rampers, like you mentioned, are quality people. They came in ready to go. They're able to solve problems quickly. They ask intelligent and thoughtful questions and really probing. And so, as a teacher, like if you're going to be an instructor, you want an engaged, locked in audience. And that's what we got. And it's great. And so this is my first time participating in OnRamp where I'm part of the curriculum and I'll be talking for, I think I've got 4.5 hours of material. And so, it's all about delivering that level of value for them. And, when you're focused for that period of time, you want to be meticulous about it. Before, when I spoke at OnRamp, it was a career track kind of talk, and I've given that twice. So 2 years ago and then last year. And so this year, being part of the actual learning material, it's been awesome. It's been a really good experience. And let me just brag on Mike Robbins for a second, because one, we all know that dude is awesome, but that dude is awesome. So when you experience him firsthand and you really get to see the depth of his knowledge, it's great.
I'd say the passion pairs nicely with it too. He's got the passion. He's got the ability to deliver it. And he's also got some jokes up his sleeve.
Oh, my gosh.
I know about some jokes. I saw some photos.
Oh no. Yeah.
Tell me about this. What was going on? I wasn't in the room.
So I had gotten up on the podium to kind of doing the intro. And so I'm explaining to the people, who I am and just introducing them, the on-rampers to myself. And prior to that, Matt Gill had printed out the 3D printed versions of some photographs.
So cool. The size of a tile.
Those are sweet.
Beyond.
So he grabbed those off of the social media photos. So mine is just, me with a hat on a cruise with the cruise background, whatever. And Mike Robbins is Hitman 47. He's the spitting image of Hitman 47. Yeah. So that's what his tile looks like, because that's what his photo looks like.
Right.
And so I was walking it across the front of the stage, trying to be funny. I'm like, he's Hitman 47. So when I was up there explaining, who I am, kind of introducing them to myself, he goes and gets his glasses on and stands at the corner of the stage next to me. I turn around. I'm like, oh, crap, I'm dead.
I love that, dude. I saw your reaction. Someone caught it. Did you see the photo
yet?
I
saw the photo. It's hilarious.
You'll have to post it on socials and send me it, and I'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah, there's better photos of me.
Yeah, it was authentic. But, yeah, Mike, I didn't know he had that up his sleeve. And if he did, I thought maybe he would have told you beforehand. But, no, he was April Fooling you, man.
So, I'm a fairly boisterous personality, and especially in these public events. And so I'm more of a clown humor kind of person. He is a very dry sense of humor, but his sense of humor is still definitely there. And that was hilarious.
Yeah, I love that. And it brings up something I've kind of explored in getting ready for this talk and just my observations in general. And you may understand something about this. And that is the tension in a tech talk. right? Everyone wants to
Okay.
seem smart. There's silence in the air.
Yeah.
I think that's why jokes land so hard. And that's why it's so important to give the audience that chance to break the tension.
Okay.
And that's a huge principle in like stand-up comedy type things. But I think that's why so many of these little hijinks are just such a good fit, because people are just begging for that chance to kind of connect a little bit and loosen things up.
I think that's a really astute observation. Like, we've all had that, the Ferris Bueller's Day Off style professors where he's talking like this. And, and you're like, oh, could I please just roll over and die right now? It's way too much, right? But then you also don't want the spasmic person who's just so high energy that you're worn out listening to them. So finding the right balance is somewhat of your personality plus a challenge. And if you want to be good at something, then like you said about professional comedians, there's an art to it. The way they connect with audiences, and the professional version of that for all of us, the thing we can learn from is not every comedian's joke is funny, and they don't always hit. They may get a tough crowd, or they may be having an off night. Our professional lives are the same, so we can recognize that in how it plays out for us. And we can be like, what, man, you remember that time where I was on my code game and I solved every freaking problem that they threw at me for a 8-hour period straight? And then the next day, or maybe another day, another time, where it's like, I was the opposite of the Midas touch. I didn't turn anything to gold. I turned everything to clay. And it shattered in my hands every time I touched it.
Yep.
And if you've done IT or you've done life long enough, frankly, everyone has experienced those kind of, crap days where everything's crap. And I really hope that everyone listening to this has experienced the everything I touch turned to gold days, because it tells you that you have skills, you have something to offer, you can do it. You just never know when it's going to hit.
Now, that's an astute observation by you, my friend.
Well, so I've got gray hairs now. So I'm trying to spread some wisdom.
Yes. And that's what it's all about. Community and learning from others. We have gone through the hard things, and we're trying to prevent others and learn from our mistakes. Because if you're going to go through these rough patches in life, career, whatever it is, you don't want all that effort and challenge and strife that you have in that to just end on you. You can share that with others. And for me, it's almost like a healing experience of sort of like taking care of not myself, because I'm not in those shoes anymore, but what would have been myself at the time.
Yeah, that's a challenge specifically for leaders, is to create an environment that's safe enough for people to be challenged and to make mistakes, but have that not impact them in a way that's damaging to their personality or their career. That's hard.
Yep. I think psychological safety and just feeling safe to make changes, to try things. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of cultures where if you're self-doubting and your culture isn't forward about that, it's going to be pretty hard without some mentorship or someone else giving you that different perspective to connect those dots.
Right. I told people when I worked at Meta, I was only there for 16 months, but they had a no-blame culture, and they were serious about it, and it really did come from the leadership top down, like at the very highest levels. They meant it, and they acted it out every day. Now, of course, I wasn't there long enough to go, well, not everyone does it, but I'm just telling you from my experience, from my entire leadership chain, that is, they meant it, and it was awesome. And not every organization is lucky enough to have that. I get that there's some organizations that are like near toxic. And I really hope for the listeners of this, if you're in that toxic environment, know that you don't have to stay there, and know that you can enact whatever change you can, but then don't stick it out just because you have to. Like, there are places that are good to work at. Your skills are required. Your personality would be a benefit to that org. Please do that for yourself and for them.
Yeah, you have more potential to give than maybe what is possible in your current workspace without swimming upstream for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Probably not getting paid adequately along the way.
Yeah, because, I'm toward the end side of my career. There was more career on the past than in the future for me. And one of the things I really think about is, nowadays, are you having an impact? Are you doing something you enjoy? But also, life is precious. Time is precious. Are you spending your precious commodity that you have, which is your time and your mental energy, on things that matter to you and things that matter, just period? And I know that's kind of a big talk for our bar sessions. And I don't mean to be like, hey, let's talk Debbie Downer and life ending type stuff. But seriously, when you start thinking about what is your legacy, what is your impact on people's lives, let's start thinking about, are you being your best person every day? Could you be doing more? Is it at this role, or could you do that at some other role?
Yep.
That's the kind of things I'm thinking about these days.
I feel you there, man, and so am I. And I think that this kind of ties into another topic I wanted to talk about you, and that is you were the first Sean Kearney Community Spirit Award recipient, and unfortunately, Sean Kearney has left us as of, I think, March 31st. So rest in peace, Sean. We're kind of paying forward his spirit and feeling that this week here at Summit. It really is sort of a celebration of community to a certain regard. But so recently today, I was awarded that award for this year, which is awesome.
Oh, wait, you can't do it like that. I'm terribly sorry. I have to interrupt you. All right.
I know, it's hard to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you Andrew Pla, the latest and newest recipient of the Sean Kearney Community Spirit. I almost choked it. The Community Spirit Award, and it is well deserved because Andrew really is a beacon in the PowerShell community, and I'm glad to hand over the title from me to him. And also, it didn't cost him a crap ton in stickers in order to get this award.
just a crap ton of time, but it's been all worth it. I don't know if you saw social media earlier today. I put up a little post and a video kind of introspective, and it had to do a lot with what you were talking about with like capitalizing on time. Life is precious. Your time here is important.
Yeah.
The tech is great, but you have a human impact. And
sure.
I think Sean's a great example of that. And, for me, it's been, I've spent a lot of time today kind of like reflecting on all that. And, 2018 was my first year at Summit.
Okay.
And I got the scholarship back then, and I was thinking, it's been 7 years since then.
Wow. Yeah.
Every year Summit is my chance to kind of reflect on how have I grown since that 2018 year.
Yeah. Well, I met you in 2019, and you were helping the others on-rampers, I believe. And, you had, did you have a buddy back then?
I did.
Yeah. So that's what I remembered about you. I thought I did. And I was like, this guy, he's got a lot of passion and potential here, but then just to watch you grow through that and, stepping out of your comfort zone with the podcast and, being more community involved, it's great. Those are the ways, like I tell people this as I don't learn anything from someone that I fully agree with.
Yeah.
You're not going to learn anything about life or ideas or whatever if you're in an echo chamber. So you need to really evaluate, look around and you be like, who is challenging me? Who has ideas that I don't have that can really grow me as a person, and then safely incorporate them into your life? Please don't get toxic people. That's not what I'm talking about. Yeah. If you're happy, don't be pulling in some person who's toxic to get you out of your comfort zone. No. What I'm talking about is, people who think differently than you, people who have other ideas and can help you grow as a person.
I agree with that. And there's so many people here. One of my biggest takeaways in 2018 was how awesome it was to see people with their different perspectives communicating, sharing, contributing. For me, I hadn't really seen that kind of thing in the flesh.
Yeah.
And it was very transformative. And I think in 2018, when I first came, that scholarship year, I was fresh off the heels of losing my best friend to brain cancer, which is the same way we lost Sean.
That's awful.
And I actually wrote a blog after Summit kind of recapping, and a big part of it was quarter life crisis, and I talk about losing my friend. That was deep. What's the relevance? And it was the whole, I have this perspective from seeing someone kind of pass away, the fragility of life that I have since, taken with me. That was the transformative moment of my adult life, apart from having kids at a young age. Yeah. Those were the two huge events in my adult life that changed their trajectory. And yeah, it really is kind of, it's trippy in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Whenever I look at my journey, one thing that's really important for me is to think about, how does this make sense? How does it make sense? It's the same thing I tell everyone else to do. You take one step at a time. Right. It took me a long time to get here. I remember 2018, I did that first blog post. It wasn't technical. It took a lot of stress for me to post that. Yeah. That was a huge, for me, we all have different childhoods, but mine, I didn't necessarily leave it with the most amount of confidence in putting myself out there as my authentic self. In high school, a lot of us aren't ourselves. We're kind of fitting in. So having that journey, and I remember for a while, I had to kind of take a break from social media because I wasn't comfortable enough with myself, and I found out you have to be authentically yourself all the time to sustainably do public stuff.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point. Like, I don't ever think of you as not being your authentic self because I probably met you after you've already done that introspection.
Yeah.
Right. And so that goes back to the point of, people are on their journey and you may catch them at different points and, just recognize that not everyone has the experiences you have. Not everyone knows what you have. They're on their own path. Grant them a little grace and peace in where they are in their journey. And I've been drilling home when I've been talking to people specifically at this summit is rule number 1 for code. And rule number 1 for code is working code is working code.
It is.
And, does it have error handling? Does it have automated tests? Does it pre-build? Is it in a CI/CD workflow? No. Is it working? That is the primary function of anything that we have created. And so don't feel bad because you don't know as much as a MVP person, granted that you and I are both MVPs, but that's not our bragging chip, right? That's not what makes us special. That's not anything. It's just community recognition of the effort. What matters is, did you learn something from your time and did you build something that is useful to your org or to yourself or to your coworkers or friends or family or whatever? That's what matters.
I agree with that, man. What comes to mind, and I know you had some experience in the oil and gas industry, but what comes to mind is community stuff. When you're focused on helping others, to me, that's a renewable resource. If you were to just try and do stuff to become an MVP, that can work. You cannot maintain that. Your goal and where you're coming from needs to be aligned with helping others.
Right.
Otherwise, you don't get the joy of the fruits of that labor.
Right. Yeah. The force multiplier of pouring into other people's lives cannot be explained until you've experienced it. And so for the people in this audience who's listening now, I want to tell you right now that you need to be pouring yourself into other people's lives. You need to matter to someone else. Because if it's all about you or your career, or you think, well, I'm just an individual contributor, I'm like, no, you have influence over someone somewhere. And then once you realize that force multiplier and you work on those skills, imagine how much work you could get done if there were 4 of you. Imagine how much work you could get done if there was 10 of you. Now, I'm not saying you specifically, but people align toward a direction. Can you influence people to do that? That's what matters. And that's why I love teaching, because I can say things like, hey, here's something that you need to watch out for in your code. I've just saved you an entire world of hurt. I know where the rocks are. I've been there. You can listen to me or not. You're going to have to experience your own rocks. And by rocks, I mean the ones that the ships crash against when the seas are rough and the storm has arisen, right? That's what I'm talking about.
That is what it's all about, man.
Yep.
And I think that, we in PowerShell love efficiency. We like doing things one time. We like capitalizing on our efforts, distributing modules, right? We write it one time. We can share it all over the world. I mean, that's some power right there.
Yeah.
But I think that it extends, like most things that are true, they don't just apply to one domain. They apply to everything. And that applies to your career and the way you approach things as well.
Yeah.
You can be that force multiplier like you're saying. What better use of your time? As you learn PowerShell, you'll change your approach to problem solving.
Right.
And for me, and I think for others in this community, like Sean Kearney, like you, like Don Jones, like Jeff Hicks, and all these others who've done so much.
Oh, for sure.
Is they're connected to the reality that is the biggest way to have an impact, and also the biggest way to feel belonging. When you're able to provide value for others, for me, there's almost like a sort of emergency blanket of I hope I never need to ask for a favor. But if you've just been good and been your authentic self and helping others, if shit really hits the fan, you may have some people out there that are willing to at least listen to you and be supportive.
Sure. Yeah, it was, I've been laid off twice in the last, 4 years, I guess. And, because mergers and economics and whatever. And people are worried about that right now. And focus on the things that you have control over, because you don't have control over how an organization moves and decides unless you're the boss. And so frankly speaking, most people listening to this podcast are not the CEOs, CFOs, CISOs. It's the people that are trying to improve their career, and, they're your typical tech worker. That's fine. We all come from that. That's our background. That's great. So focus on the things you can control. You can control your attitude first. No matter what is happening to you, your attitude is a decision that you're making. Then past that, what about learning? What about your involvement with other people? We've been talking about the lives of people that we're pouring into. Do you have a set of friends that you enjoy being around? Are you encouraging to them? Those are the kinds of things, a good grief. I'm starting to sound like, where's my rocking chair? I don't have enough clouds to yell at here, man.
I think that what you spoke to, your attitude, you can control that.
Yeah.
For me, what that looks like is my perspective on things. Am I approaching things from a growth perspective where it's like, worst case scenario, I succeed or I fail and learn. And if I know that I'm going to be okay to fail and I'm not going to crash as a person and self-implode, which as you do public things, you realize pretty quickly, it's all going to be okay in that regard. You're not going to implode. Those fears you have aren't founded in your current reality. They're founded in the past. But
let me tell you about a time, this is one of those fun things is like, you ask in the podcast, tell me about a time when something went wrong on the job and what'd you do about it?
Yep.
And I think I told about the time where I sent a message to the entire company to please call me. I was using NetSend back when NetSend was a thing.
Yep.
Because I was trying to get someone's attention who was logged onto a server I was trying to do work on.
Yep.
So I put a space in between the domain and the server name instead of the backslash, and wham, I sent it to the entire domain. It was shortly after that we applied a group policy to turn that off, right? It's like, okay, one, it's a little bit hilarious. No damage was happened. No damage happened. However, recently, you'd think, okay, that was back in, 2004. Steven's way past that. Well, I was running commands on a system. I'm trying to be, somewhat nebulous about what I'm talking about. And an unexpected thing happened that caused a big outage. Now, I was talking with someone that I work with, and he said, no reasonable person would expect that to happen. You just stumbled across something something bad happened.
Yeah.
So I'm so blessed that I'm at a place that is, again, the no blame culture, right? So I'm blessed with that. However, why don't we give that to everyone else? Would a reasonable person expect this bad thing to happen? If a reasonable person would expect it to happen, then what are the things that were missed leading up to that?
Agreed. It's the system. It's not the individual.
Right.
It's the system that they exist in. If you're dealing with one IT person or whatever, maybe you can think about, it's not the system. If you're actually trying to solve things and do things reasonably well, there needs to be a no-blame culture.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how the F are you going to get anything done ever? Everyone's going to be too afraid to.
Right.
You're going to be a very static culture. It's just not going to work.
Right.
That's a good temperature check for if the culture is a good fit. If you were to make a mistake, how afraid are you of the repercussions?
Right.
Or is it everyone is so forward about it not being blame-free that people feel safe?
Exactly.
You have to be proactive because human instincts is to feel shy, introverted. That's all of our instincts.
Uh-huh.
You don't want to be swimming upstream. You got to have a culture that encourages you to do the right shit.
Right. The other thing that I watch for, and I actually brought this to my current organization, is the concept of normalization of deviancy, where you're like, don't worry about that. That always happened. Don't worry about that alert. We always get that alert. Don't worry about fill in that blank because fill in the blank, right? Where you say, this would normally be something broken. And by the way, this is why I love people new to IT or new to jobs.
Love them.
Because they have brand new eyes. And I always tell them, I need you. I need you here because I need you to tell me where I have gotten used to something that doesn't make any sense. I'm doing something that I don't even recognize because I've been habitualized into whatever behavior it is, whatever system it is, that you can see. If I say, oh, well, all you do is this, and you go read the docs because you're new to IT and you're new to our department, and you can say, I don't get this from these docs. These docs don't make sense. New people can improve your documentation like no one else can. New people can see things that no one else can. That's why I love them. So if you're new in your career, please, people like me relish your input.
So much so. I keep saying this phrase, and I don't love it, and I keep saying I don't love it, but eager beavers, kind of like my perspective in 2018, and there's many others who have that same kind of eagerness to learn and to grow and to accept these opportunities that are in front of them, because there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Oh, yeah.
And it really is rejuvenating to both be able to connect with them and empower them, but also to hear their perspective and to have them talk about the stuff they're learning. Even though it's already been covered and it's in previous versions and this and that, it is still so great to have the fresh perspective communicated and shared on, because there's other beginners out there that want to learn along with you.
Absolutely. So you and I are kind of moved into, over the past couple of years, and what I consider to be a weird place for me, I don't know, I want to speak for you, where people are actually looking up to us as, someone that they want to possibly model their life, career choices after. And in the same way that I look at dudes like Jeffrey Snover, Dunn, Jones, Jeff Hicks, fill in the blank. There's others. And I really hate to stop there, because there's so many. And their names are in my head right now. I don't want to spend time well, here's the big laundry list. The point is that I look at those guys and I hear them talk like some of them did today, where they're like, hey, you know what would be great? This is what you should do with your career, or here's some ideas you should have. Like Don today was talking to the on-rampers about having a point at which you have a goal for. Because if you're in, he said it like this, and I thought it was a great analogy. He goes, how many of your cars have GPS? Well, if you get in your GPS and start driving, are you getting to your destination? No. What you should do is put the destination in your GPS, and then it will guide you there. So if you're living your life and you don't have goals, you don't have plans, you don't know what you want to do, maybe you should spend some quiet time, do some introspection, figure out what you think you might like, go find a mentor, and start heading toward that goal. Don't be aimless with your decision making.
1,000,000%, man. And I guess we are kind of in a weird spot. I'm kind of in a spot where it takes me time to adjust to different levels. Like when I was writing blogs, it took me a couple of years to get used to it. And now that I'm sort of in the more public sphere, and I have some people, I've met a bunch of people who are here because they heard about it on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
People asking for, it's awesome to meet friends and stuff.
Let's be clear. It is the Andrew Pla. Come on now. I mean,
it's an amazing community. It's I really appreciate everyone out there who is connected. But yeah, we're in this position where some people do look up to us. That's why I try and always not be, I'm not trying to not be perfect, but embrace being yourself.
Yeah.
Sometimes on the podcast I'll stutter. Sometimes, I can't really help it. But that's a human thing. Other people have it.
Yeah.
And whenever you make mistakes, say I were to do a performance or a presentation and it fell flat, it shows people that it's going to be okay. You're going to make it through. But anyways, it takes me a couple of years to get used to each level. And I've kind of been at where I am for a little bit, kind of steadily growing up. But it's time for me to take my own advice of like, what's your next step?
Yeah.
Because my goal for a while was to get to the point where I could just help people, be myself. Right, and that aligns because I do have a lot of love for humans, so I love helping them out. Makes me feel super good, and also, selfishly, to party and get to hang out with my friends like you.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great to be able to do that. Like I mentioned before, you want to be a force multiplier in people's lives.
Yes.
And what that does for you is it makes you more effective. It gives you new skills. So, for those people that are like out there listening to this and you're a super introvert, and I'm cool with that, because for all of my showboating, I still am kind of an introvert.
Me too, man.
Yeah. So, but I'm good at the performative part, so no one knows it.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of loud and boisterous, but it's that whole, I don't take myself seriously, but I take my work seriously. I take the things that I do seriously because I want to have maximum impact.
I mean, it's the perspective thing. You could go into your work trying to not own your career, capitalize on all the impact you can have, whether that means making your coworkers' lives as good as you can by having advanced tooling, or it means connecting with the community and getting out there and empowering others.
Right.
I mean, that's just the approach you need to take. And anyways, just to circle back slightly, because I'm slightly, it's a little loud in here. I keep getting distracted.
It is definitely loud in here. My ears are ringing while we're talking.
It's a good time. The vibes are high, I tell you what.
I'm hoping the mic is like, these are good mics and the sound is good, because I'm like, Man, I'm leaning in so I can just hear you.
Performance mics, right? So, I mean, they sing on stage, you got a crowd screaming,
Hey,
it works.
one, you got to have good tools, and two, you got to know how to use them.
That's right. And, PowerShell's a great tool. And I think we know how to use
PowerShell is
it.
an awesome tool. I'm working on
let
a...
me wrap back just real quick. Just finish up that earlier point
Okay.
about the goals and taking my own advice.
Yeah, for sure.
This year, Summit, a lot of things are kind of connected with me. I took some time off from traveling, and I have a renewed hunger to just kind of listening to my own podcast from a year ago, Summit, listening to Don's episode. I'm like, wow,
Oh, yeah.
I think I'm ready. I think I'm comfortable, and I'm happy that I gave myself the time to acclimate. Because as an introvert, for me, it takes time to adjust to changes in my system.
For sure. Yeah, it's an odd thing to go from a participant to a part of the show, if you will,
Yeah.
and then to be recognized for that. I've been apologizing a lot to people who I met last year because I kind of did a little bit of math, and I'm like, I've met well over 200 people in the past 12 months.
Yep.
And it's a little embarrassing for me, and I'm sure the important people that we look up to, the Don Jones, Jeffrey Snovers, they have so many people that they get introduced to that a certain level of prominence and celebrity, you can't remember everyone. And I feel bad about that because I never was that guy before. So it's a weird feeling, but I'm just so glad that everyone's like, don't worry about it. Because I've met well over 200 people in the last 12 months, and that's not really a lot of people, but it's more than my brain can comprehend.
And we always, I think we mentioned earlier, give people some grace. I'm glad they're giving us grace because I struggle
For
as well,
sure.
especially with the online personalities, which it might be a different old as heck photo, no photo, different username, where it's like, who's Ninja Sniper 23? Do we know who they are? Oh, we actually had an amazing heart-to-heart conversation, and
Yeah, that's the worst feeling. And so, for those listening again, I'm grateful to you. If you've ever met me and I forgot your name, I apologize. We're only as good as our memories are. I'm not one of those. I remember every last thing ever.
Yeah.
I want to come back because this thing that popped in my head, what I've learned from PowerShell is, this is a talk that I actually want to do where it's like, here's what PowerShell and the PowerShell community has done for me, because it's not just, hey, haha, me, Steven Judd, blah, blah, blah. It's, you can have this too. And I want this for you too. I want to say, these people have laid this path down. I followed other people. Don Jones is the first follower. Those guys laid the path. They were brilliant and did an excellent job, and we stand on their shoulders. However, we had to get up on their shoulders. We didn't just fall onto their backs, right? So the work that you've done and the things that you've put into it matters. And the things that I've done and the things I've put into it, that also matters. And so the fact that we can now be force multipliers in ways we hadn't been able to before, it's super exciting. And I don't mean to be slapping ourselves on the back, because that's not what it is. I'm saying this to the audience to say, this is you. There's nothing special about me. There really isn't.
that's my biggest thing, man. That's completely. That's the only way you could rationalize. And, I've had a chance to talk to a lot of people that I thought were heroes. Or they certainly are heroes, but I thought were rock stars, I should say. And exceptional and different. Not true whatsoever. It's such a human journey. It's such a brick-by-brick thing. Sure, some people can learn a little bit faster, but the real thing is the test of time. Do you stop or do you not?
Right.
We all have long careers, longer than we need to reach these levels. If it takes you 10 years, that's okay. If it takes you 3, I've seen that too, and I've been in a career where I've been very envious.
Right. Yeah, for me, it's always been, I had an older brother who is an unbelievable talent at pretty much everything he put his hands to.
Yeah.
That's a tough thing to grow up following. And, he and I are close. We've been close for a long time. I respect my brother in ways that are tough to articulate. I have a younger brother who had to deal with me and his older brother. What a tough life. Congratulations. You got 2 stars ahead of you, And so, when you think about, how your life gets impacted in that way, what happened to me is I became very competitive and I was always trying to outdo my brother. What I learned eventually, because I'm sometimes not that bright in things.
We like to learn the hard way.
I learned the hard way, is that you be you. You carve out your space with your talents and your interests. And once you do that, your rocket ship has been lit and you will take off. You know, the embracing of the dad jokes. We haven't joked around much here, you know, with the dad jokes. This has been a fairly serious talk, right? But, you know, while I was here, I've already written 2 dad jokes. You want to hear one? Do you want to hear one?
I don't, but the audience does, and I kind of do too, all right? But I don't want to say it out loud.
Do you know how to turn a blue light on?
I'm going to guess you blow on it?
You depress it.
Oh, my gosh.
So we were driving by the airport when I was picking up someone who was coming to the conference, and we were like, what are those things up there? Oh, those are the landing lights. And one of the guys in the car is like, landing lights are blue, right? Boom. I thought of that joke right there, right then. You know?
We love it.
So the whole point is the dad jokes. It's how my brain is currently broken, but it's kind of this is my mark. This is how I do it. I've embraced it. You know, your thing, like, I used to work with this guy who was the absolute funniest person I'd ever met. That was his thing, right? Not only was he smart, but the dude was absolutely a laugh riot. I'm not that guy. I'm just not that funny. My jokes kind of hurt you a little bit.
Yep.
That's how it is.
And I think that can apply to whenever you think about your community efforts too. You know, me, I don't expect everyone to want to do a podcast. It's a different thing. I don't expect everyone to want to support an award-winning module, or everyone to write blogs, or everyone to be an amazing champion for PowerShell internally, and for best practice, and for secure, you know, not putting plain text passwords in your scripts.
Yeah.
But, man, it's been an amazing chat with you. I think it's been 15 minutes plus 20. But it was just too good. How could we stop that?
You know
man?
what? I am the record holder for the longest
You're pushing it.
PowerShell podcast
How many more
episode.
years? Let's over under 3 years. Does he get over 24 hours or under?
What, me for talking?
I'm just thinking. I mean,
My voice would eventually crap out. No,
no,
it's
not straight, but I mean cumulative, right? We're adding up some time here.
We are chalking up some time. All right, so now I'm kind of like, okay, fine. We're going to set a freaking record. You need to have me back on where it's just me, and we can have cameras so people can see the clown outfits that I wear, and my scrolling hat, and my light up PowerShell. Thank you, Graciela. I love you. And, you know, wish you were here. You and Matthias. I love you guys. Shout out.
Heck yeah, shout out.
So anyway, you know, it's good to see my clown outfits and, you know, having a good time. So we're going to have to get on the video. Let's go.
It's a date. We'll put it on Outlook, man.
It's a date.
Awesome.
I love it.
Well, thank you, man. Honestly, it's been such a pleasure to have friends like you who not only do we grow professionally together and help others and have that great part of our life, but we get to grow as friends.
Absolutely.
And as people to a certain level. Like when you're close to someone, you're sharing things, you're growing together, you're being vulnerable. I think that one of the biggest things that's happened in the past years, or in the past probably 2 or 3 years, is finding my tribe, finding a group of people that I can communicate with. And I wish we had more of that out there in the world.
I just know that I am so pleased I've mentioned this before, to watch your progress. I'm so pleased that I'm part of your tribe.
You absolutely are.
And you know what?
And you're part of my progress. You're part of my journey.
Here's to many more years of doing this for each other and for everyone else that's listening. Love you guys. Glad you're here.
And the next generation, the next versions of us are listening.
That's right. That's right. And they're like, what was that dad joke again? No, we're not doing that again. No. No, we're not. No, we're not. All right. Thanks, Andrew.
Be
Appreciate
who you are. Embrace it. It resonates when you're authentic. Judd, you're resonating, man. Thank you, everybody out there.
Thanks for listening to the PowerShell Podcast. The PowerShell Podcast is a PDQ production, making device management simple, secure, and pretty damn quick.